Hello everyone, welcome back to Valley of the Mist Quilt Guild. I'm Adriane Ritter.
And I'm Shelley McNeely.
And we are here to do an updated special video on how to sew the Guild's Philanthropy pillowcase. But please feel free to use it for your own pillowcases.
Right.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, after our Philanthropy sewing, we did a video because people were confused. We thought, let's preempt this and do it before the sew-in. So hopefully you're watching this before our sew-in in August. But the update mainly is really only has to do with how you sew down the accent piece. But we're going to go through it like you have not seen this video before. Right? Okay. So you're going to listen to all our mindless chatter. Okay. Okay, so this pillowcase is used a lot by our philanthropy group because when they give a quilt, they do like to give a pillowcase too, especially with the foster kids. And it's a kind of a universal pattern out there for using quilt fabric to make a pillowcase. So in general, you're talking cotton fabric that's 42 to 44 inches wide. They don't always come that width, and you'll see here, like Shelley's going to show, these are different widths, but they're still cotton fabric, right. And sometimes they're just a little more generous than the others. Okay, so Shelley, what fabric do we need to make a pillowcase?
Okay, first of all, we're going to need an accent strip. One accent. Each of these is just one piece. Accent strip that is 3 inches by width of fabric. That's like this piece.
The blue that's up there, or the
right.
Red one I'm holding.
Then we're going to have a piece we call the cuff, and that is 9 inches by width of fabric, and that's this piece here. And then we'll have what we call the body, and that is 26 to 27 inches wide by width of fabric.
Now, the reason why there's variable amount there is that if you go to buy fabric and say I need 3/4 of a yard, that's 27 inches. But you really only need 26 inches to make it fit a standard size pillow. So the first thing that you have to do is when you're cutting out your pieces, try your best to make sure that you get straight seams. Now the accent piece, it's less important because it's a pretty just narrow strip that you're going to put on there. But the cuff and the body of the pillow really need to be nice rectangles. You're not going to cut off any seam allowance right now, but make sure you have, right. Parallel ends.
Yeah.
Just so it ends up nice.
Right.
And things match up. Okay. Then the next thing you need to do is iron all of it. You really want a lot of this to be nicely pressed, no wrinkles in it. I do want to mention that this sewing of this pillowcase is more like garment sewing than like quilting. So when we do start a seam, lock the seam, it's not like piecing where you don't have to do that because these seams are going to have a lot of tension on them. So please do a back stitch and lock the seams in place. Okay, so then after you've pressed it, the next thing you need to do is take your accent strip and press it in half. We want a really good press line down the center because that's our major change.
Yeah, down the length.
Down the length of it. You want to press it in half. Then you're going to take the cuff piece, your 9-inch piece, and your accent piece, unfold it, put them right sides together, and you're going to match them along. Square up one end, match up one end, and the other end, don't worry about it. They can be different lengths, it's fine. As long as they were about 42 inches wide, you're fine. And at this point, all we want you to do, clip them together, and then you're going to just sew this accent strip to the cuff on that pressing line. Okay, so you kind of have to be pretty accurate. Hit the pressing line.
Yeah, make a really good pressing line so you can see it.
Right, and so it's really basically 1.5 inches seam you're sewing. But the reason why we're sewing this, it actually makes it easier for you in the long run because the way we used to do it, you sewed it later, and then you had to make sure you matched your thread. Here, if you're just using kind of a neutral thread or a thread that won't be really glaring, you don't have to be so particular about that matching, because it's gonna be hidden, because we're gonna sew that down, and then when we come back, when it's sewn down, we fold it back up here, and now it's attached. And and the beauty of that, when these get washed, that accent strip won't wrinkle up or roll at all.
It'll stay where you sewed it.
So we're just going to come back with that accent strip sewn down 1.5 inches from this border. All right, so we have, I've got it clipped up here, I'll show you. So this accent piece has been carefully sewn to this fabric. She matched the ends on this end, so this will be where she keeps matching the ends. And then I will say, after you sew it, even though you're sewing on the line, I'd go back and hit it with an iron and press it back up, because we've got a new seam here, and it'll lay nice.
Lots of things going to happen right away.
Yeah. Okay. So now you fold it back up. So you've got the on the bottom the cuff piece right sides up. Above that now you have the accent strip sewn down, wrong sides together on the accent strip, so the right sides are out and they are against this edge, this top edge of the cuff. Then the next thing you're going to do is take the body of your pillowcase, wrong side down, right sides down, and you're going to match it. We're matching on this end, and you're going to clip that along this line up here on this edge. So now then we have 4 pieces at this point all together. She's going to fix this later. It's not exactly perfect. And then we're going to do the part that we call the burrito part. So you're going to take this and you're going to just carefully fold this up below the seam line, well below the seam line. Fold it up until you can see the cuff underneath it. One more?
I think some more.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, so now there's the cuff. And then you take the cuff and you're going to fold this up until that innards is like a burrito, and you're going to match that one at the top. So now we have 2 layers of everything but the main part of the fabric in this seam, right? We have the 2 layers of the accent, 2 layers of the cuff, and then 1 layer of the main part of the pillowcase, and the rest is kind of tucked down here because you only want to catch one edge. So let's set this down, shall we?
Okay.
I can show you mine because I have mine done.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So now, I mean, we pretty much showed it with that one, but here's another version. It's all burritoed. Do I have? Oh, I have the sewn side out. Oh well, that's fine. Now you're going to go along and you're going to carefully clip these all together, and then we're going to sew this seam that we have the clips on, and that would just be a 1/4 inch seam that you take, and then we'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have sewn our burrito. I'm getting hungry. Okay, so here is my sewn up burrito, and so as soon as you do that, we only have 2 more seams left, by the way. But after you sew this together, now you've got to turn it. So I am going to work on pulling the main body of the pillowcase out from inside the cuff, while Shelley talks to you about what we do next.
Okay, so next we need to press again. And what we need to do is, on the cuff,
after you've unburritoed it.
yes, after that, you need to press so the cuff, all the seams from the cuff go up towards the cuff. Press on both sides so you have a really nice crisp edge all the way down the sides and in the back of it. It's very important to have that really nice and tight there.
Because like when as you can see, as I take it out, this is it's not. I've got a seam going this way. I've got a seam going this way. It's got to be pressed out.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a job because it doesn't necessarily want to go that way, but that's the way we need it to be. And then after you do that, then we're going to do trimming. So Adriane can show how it kind of looks like on maybe one side.
So, oh, I'm sorry, right in your face. Okay, so before we trim, I've got my long end over here on this side, and here, obviously I've got selvages that need to be trimmed off where I matched up. But on this side, so selvages on the one side, and then this side, and I would, however works for you, to lay it out there and make sure that they match up. You're gonna trim just these two edges. Don't worry about this bottom edge.
Right.
Okay, so Shelley has pressed hers, done all that.
And trimmed it, trimmed my selvages off. The edge, the one edge, only should be one edge that doesn't all the fabrics match. The other side should all match. Trim that.
What do you mean they don't match?
Well, you know, they're too long. The pieces that are too
long.
long.
Yeah, because we put them to one side.
Right. So trim that all off, and it should be so.
And I'll tell you, that's pretty important that you do that, because these pieces could be different widths, and you've got them both ways. You're going to end up with a pillowcase that's not wide enough to get a pillow in. So make sure you have done that. And so as you can see, or she's going to show you, now her cuff piece and her accent piece match. You know, because they should if you've cut them.
Right, and you want those matching.
I mean, at the sew-in, you're going to get them. They've been cut carefully by our wonderful philanthropy team.
Now you want to match that up on this is seam and down this seam. Okay, this is wrong sides together. This is the first seam we're going to be doing now, wrong sides together.
Because in case you forget, we are doing a French seam, which is just kind of a encased seam. That's how we're doing these pillowcases. So we first sew.
We're going to sew down this seam, down this edge, and down that edge.
So it's kind of, you're going to sew an L, okay? And for this seam, we want you to take a scant quarter inch to 1/8 of an inch.
Right.
Only because, I mean, there isn't, this pillowcase, when you put a pillow in it, will be full. I mean, it's not like it's an oversized pillowcase. And we are taking two seams. So this first seam, make sure you catch both pieces of fabric. I mean,
I would say the minimum size is 1/8 of an inch.
Right, yeah. But sew a nice seam, wrong sides together. If you're not looking at the good side of the fabric, you're doing it wrong. tack
both ends.
Yeah. Yes, definitely tack this end really well. Back stitch on it. Yes. Okay, so we're going to come back and we will have that L seam sewn, just the first of our last two seams. Okay. All right, we're almost done. Well, some of us are done, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so I've sewn my wrong sides together, my L seam, and the next thing that I do is I'm going to turn it.
We want to check for the stray threads first?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Look at, I almost forgot. Sorry, Shelley. So look at your seams, and if you have stray threads, like I've got a couple right here, we recommend you cut those off at this point, either by putting a ruler down right along your seam and just trimming off those little fuzzies or anything. They're easier to cut off at this point than they are after you sew the final seam. Okay, so say I went through and I cut off those few little fuzzies that I had. I'm going to turn this wrong side out now, and in doing that I want to make sure that I use something to help me poke out these corners. Like I grabbed a little purple thing and gently poke that corner out, and this other corner. Obviously we've gone over this in our prior video, what other things you can use. You can use a bodkin, which is actually made for this job. It's got a ball point at the end, won't poke through. The end of your seam ripper, the small end, will work. And actually an old seam gauge, that little pointy thing, that's what it's for. Okay.
Just don't use anything too terribly pointy. You don't want to put a hole in it.
Right. Oops, well that one's not quite poked out. Okay, so you want to make sure they're nice and and pointy at those two corners down there. And get it all done. And then you're going to go to the ironing board and you are going to very carefully press these seams. You're not pressing them open. You're pressing them flat so the seam is flat, not the seam allowance. I mean, so you actually can open it up and stick it over the end of your ironing board and just press this down, because you want that to really be at the seam, so that when I grab it, and I've actually already pressed this one, and so now when I grab the seam, it's not billowing out. It's really right on the seam. Because to encase this seam, what we do, we turn it right sides together, wrong side out, and we're going to sew a seam that is enough to cover. And you can look at your seam in the inside. It should be a 1/4 inch should be enough, because we told you to go a little bit less. But look at it. If a 1/4 inch isn't enough, take a little bit more. Don't take a lot. We got to throw the pillow in here. A pillow in here. So then you're going to sew down another 1/4 inch seam around this L. This part where the accent piece and everything comes together, it's kind of a big bump. I would recommend coming at it, possibly starting at this lower seam and coming at it from this direction and then going, and you might have to go back over that part, but definitely this upper seam, when you're finishing, make sure you do a good back stitch on it, because that's where it's going to have pressure putting a pillow in later on. So now Shelley has already done all that.
I have. Mine is sewn. All sewn.
So you can see she's got her second seam around here, and now if she turns it right side out,
we'll see what's in there.
Did you trim off your fuzzies?
I did.
Okay,
let's see if I got any.
Yeah. Because if you wait and do it now at the end, you chance actually cutting the pillowcase. That's why we like to do it before. If there's one or two,
I've got.
Oh, she's got a couple.
I do.
That
obviously
come out.
I didn't see, but yeah.
Yeah. So there is her fun school days pillowcase.
And of course, press it again.
Yeah, press it again.
Which I haven't done yet.
And show them the school day side.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
So it actually says, it'll be upside down now.
Well, no.
It does say,
still says
it says school days upside down, but it wouldn't, you could put it on the bed correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. So, a couple things to mention. When we're doing this at the sew-in, these kits will be pre-cut for you, so everything should be, should be pretty good. Follow these instructions. I'm going to include in the description for this video the instructions that we did here. Please feel free to print them out, because I can't guarantee you that there will be any instructions at the sew-in.
Yeah.
At the sew-in, I know we're doing pillowcases and we're doing rail fence blocks. If you're not going to do pillowcases and you're going to do rail fence, please check your 1/4 inch seam if you can before you get there, because for rail fence it's a super easy block, but not if you don't have a 1/4 inch seam. And you won't match with any other blocks, and it will be a nightmare for Philanthropy. The other thing is that at our Philanthropy sew-in, obviously we have people with sewing machines, we have people doing some cutting, rotary cutting to trim these edges, and one of the most important jobs is people that can press. And we went over the pressing pretty thoroughly here. So if you don't want to bring a sewing machine or don't have a sewing machine to bring, that's fine. There are jobs for you to do at the sew-in. Right. And pressing is one of the ones that there's usually a backup line of people. Now, we can't do anything about having enough irons. That's however many we have, that's how many we have. But definitely do not feel like you have nothing to do if you don't bring a sewing machine. Yes. All right, so let's get ready for our Philanthropy sew-in in August. And if not, whenever you find you have some weird, fun pieces of fabric left from a project,
Or kits from Philanthropy.
Or kits from Philanthropy, but they are quite happy for you to kit them up yourself and bring them extra pillowcases. They distribute a lot of pillowcases during the year. All right. See you at the guild meeting.